The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Forge Fitness and Nutrition LLC, the podcast hosts, owners, employees, contractors, partners, or affiliates. This presentation may include the use of explicit language. Listener or viewer discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to the Forge Fitness, Nutrition, and Habit podcast. I am your host, Michael S. Parker, and today I am joined by a longtime client, not of mine, but of our incredible coach, Samantha Ostorello. This is amazing Cassie Kidder. She has been with us for just a little bit over 3.5 years, and she's got a great story. And I'm so excited to have her on today to share that story so that hopefully each of you who are listening or watching take something from it. You can apply it to your own life. Maybe it could be a point of motivation. Maybe it can be an association where you're like, oh man, I'm kind of like that too, but she got over it. I can. Whatever you can take from this that enhances the quality of your fitness, nutrition, and habit work, then we're really happy because then we're doing our job. So without any further ado, Cassie, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. So excited.
Let's just dive right into your starting point. I think that everybody kind of goes through a journey, and it's not just a physical one. There's a very mental journey that we have to go through we go from high school into college and then to an adult life, and then things change, careers change, there's children, and then there's relationships and there's moves and whatever, life kind of comes at you. And sometimes you have to be pretty agile. And I think that a lot of people struggle trying to find out how to create some form of consistency, a homeostasis in the fast moving, intense, dopamine addicted society of social media scrolling, and it's work is demanding, and parenting is harder than ever because it's hard to spend time with your children. There's other people trying to influence them. It's just insane. But we have to maintain our bodies. We have to maintain our well-being, and you've been able to do that pretty well. So tell us a little bit about what did your life look like, or at least even feel like before you started coaching with Sammy? Like, what was the physical, the mental, and the emotional place that you were at?
Yeah, absolutely. Prior to having my two children, my husband and I were super active. Like, we were doing, boxing, cardio multiple days a week. We were incredibly active and hiking and doing all of these things. And then, I had two children, and both of them were C-section children, and they were 17 months apart. So I didn't really have that fantastic, recommended recovery time that they want you to have. And recovery was pretty rough for those C-sections. I was so used to being on the go and just felt like I lost a piece of who I was, and I needed some structured time to kind of get back to being me. So being always athletic, I was nervous getting back into the gym. I was concerned that I was going to do something incorrectly and not have somebody kind of monitoring and making sure that I'm not doing something too extensive, because I was so used to doing things a certain way and things being easy in the gym. And I knew I was struggling to lose the pregnancy weight, and that was kind of, weighing heavily on me mentally. And it kind of just got to a point where I was like, I need help. I need somebody who knows what they're doing in order to help me get back to who I was.
There's so much there. I want to take out 3 things here and kind of expand on it. You talked about athleticism. Tell me a little bit about what was your sport? Like, what were you doing before the babies?
Yeah. So I did yoga routinely. My husband and I did like boxing, kind of like a boxing gym. I did a good amount of running. We did hiking a lot. We used to go, I live in South Louisiana, so we would kind of try to go up north and get some hiking in. But it was just basically anything I could. Soccer was kind of like my thing. I would try to get, do a couple of seasons of that every now and then. But that was kind of what I was into.
Did you ever do anything in high school at a competitive level or in college?
Yeah. So in high school, I did softball and soccer. I did a year of volleyball. College, I didn't commit to any school, but I did a lot of like the intramurals. So a lot of volleyball, a lot of soccer, basically as much sports as I could do with my coursework. I was trying as much as I could.
And then the children came.
Yeah. Yes.
When the children came, were you exercising while you were pregnant? Or tell me a little bit about the pregnancy journey that you took.
Yeah. Yep. So before we had our son, so my son was our first child, we did have a miscarriage. So I was a little more conservative by my second pregnancy, which was my son. So I didn't really work out as intensely as I did prior to getting pregnant. I did do a lot of walks. I didn't really do any weightlifting or any like running or anything of that nature. Just a lot of kind of a little bit of yoga and a lot of walking.
Low impact for safety, pretty much. You just kept it really low, light.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's very challenging to figure out how to best balance that. And if you've already had a miscarriage, then prudence is always called for. I think that was a
Absolutely.
really good
Right.
thing to do. I would say though that for those at risk during pregnancy, exercise, even low impact things like walking and yoga are critical. So good job for doing that. It was
Oh,
really smart of you.
absolutely.
And you want to keep your body moving. And like I have a client who just told me literally this morning that she's pregnant. And what's funny about it, I was joking with her, I don't know, last week about how I didn't have any clients currently that are pregnant, which is weird for me. And then guess what?
Oh, no.
You had to really shift your paradigm there because you were so used to being incredibly active. What were some of the things that you struggled with? Not just the pregnancy issue, but like the acknowledgement that you had to reduce the intensity of activity. Did that affect you emotionally, or were you just like, no, I'll just get through this and I'll bounce back? How did you contend with that for yourself?
I distinctly remember in the beginning just being like, oh, that everyone who's had a kid does this. Like, this is fine. I'll bounce back. It's not a big deal. And then getting towards the end of the pregnancies, both pregnancies, I was like, am I ever going to physically recover from this insane change in my body? It was a struggle at first. And I knew, and I had talked to my husband about this prior. When we knew we were having our last child, I said, I'm going to give my body a year. It took my body 9, 10 months to get here. It's not fair for me to expect it to get back to where I was immediately. So I'm going to give myself a year, recoup, recover, and then we'll start trying to get back to where I was.
It's a very pragmatic way of looking at it. And I agree with you. That's how we have to look at it, especially postpartum. We have to be very, very careful because it's easy to get sideswiped by all these other stories that you see about lost the baby weight in 30 days. No, you didn't. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough out there for that. It is interesting though that you had 2 children 17 months apart, because ironically, my brother Mark was born on September 1st. And then exactly 1 year and 30 days later, I was born on September 30th. But
my goodness, that's amazing.
But my mom struggled with that too, with the rapidity of the birthings, the back to back like that. She didn't have her third child, my little brother Matt, who I just got off the phone with yesterday. He's 4 years younger than me. And then again, 4 years later, she gave birth to my sister. So I have 3 siblings. It is tough. I watched her as old enough when she had Matthew, and Matthew was a big baby. He's over 10 pounds. And that was,
bless her heart.
Yeah, it was really hard considering the fact that my brother Mark and I were not. Well, what's interesting though, I will say this. My brother Mark was a little over 7 pounds, excuse me.
Okay.
He's 6'3". I was 8 pounds and I'm just shy of 6 feet. I'm
okay.
If I'm wearing shoes, I'm over 6 feet. And then my little brother is like 6'2" and he was 10 pounds. So you'd think he'd be the biggest. And then my little sister, I think she's 5'10". So I'm the brothers. I'm very small compared to them, and they're big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can't even guess how big my brother Mark and Matt are, but like as far as their shoulder circumference. But I'm 55 inches, which is
that's how my husband is too.
Pretty large. But these guys, they got to be in the 7, just barrel chested Scottish men. It is funny. And but what I was going to say is that coming back to your story here, which is 17 months apart is that's a pretty narrow window, and then of course, there's always that fear if you've had a miscarriage, then you've already had a cesarean section, and then when did you find out that you're going to have a second C-section?
Pretty much very early in the second pregnancy. That was something that I was very open with my doctor about. I was already nervous about having the pregnancy so close together. I didn't want to attempt a vaginal birth after that, just because I was terrified. But my doctor agreed with me, and it was actually a very good thing that we decided to just go straight C-section, because when they cut me open, Doc was like, hey, I can see through your uterus and I can see your child waving at me. She was like, if you would have tried to deliver this vaginally, you wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, it's amazing. The modern technology has saved a lot of lives. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, okay, so let's kind of fast forward a little bit here. So then so now you got 2 babies and they're both little, right? So, so when did you, so after the birth and your second baby's a daughter, right?
Yes. She's a little girl.
Okay. So when she was born, how long did it take you to get back into some kind of structured fitness where you were working towards something?
I would say probably 6 to 8 months after she was born, I would kind of try to do like a little bit of stretching, very like walking, something like that. didn't want to lift weights just yet because I wasn't sure where to start. Mentally, I was ready to just throw weight around the gym, but I knew physically I kind of had to take a step back. Um,
It it is sometimes very challenging for people to know when to start. And physicians always
mhm,
just say it's like 6 to 8 weeks. Postpartum, C-section, it varies. It's all over the place, depends on
sure,
the condition. But your athletic side was kind of poking at you and wanting you to start moving again. Am I right
very
about that?
much
Like
so.
your mentality?
Absolutely, yes.
What did you try? Like when you before you met up with Forge and before you started with
Mhm.
us and you got hooked up with Coach Sammy, what were you doing?
Yeah, so at that point, I was walking, I was attempting to kind of get back into running, but it kind of felt a little weird. I just, lost a significant amount of cardio. Yeah. And I was doing a little bit of yoga just to try to get some movement back into my body, just having to recover from a C-section and having to be, on 24/7 call with a child, even though, my husband was fantastic and helped with everything. It was just I didn't have the time and the bandwidth to do what I wanted to do or the knowledge. So at
Um,
that point, I was just like, I know I can walk. I know I can run. Let's try that.
that's usually a great place to start. I always say it's do the things that are obvious, like start with a good strong
Mhm.
power walk. Or if you have the inclination to do some running or some hiking, then definitely do that. Cycling, all these things are great. Pilates and yoga, these are great
Mhm.
entryways. But it seems to me that you somehow realized that you needed more.
I did, absolutely. So I was kind of stuck, I would say 25, 30 pounds over where I was before getting pregnant. And
Common.
I just didn't, yeah, it very much so. And I just didn't feel good about it. I knew it wasn't going to be an overnight thing, that I was going to drop all of this weight. But I also knew that I had a different body now, and I needed somebody who understood, okay, can I do postpartum that's not going to, hurt me?
You must have had some kind of light or catharsis, something where you said, I need to make a change. I need to progress. I need to go forward. There needs to be more. I'm ready. I feel ready, but
Sure.
unsure of what to do. So what did you do then? Like, did you go online and just like do a Google search? What led you to us?
So I did do a Google search. I wanted somebody who I could talk to. I didn't want to go to a gym and just find somebody because we have a home gym. So we have our shop that has significant amount of equipment that we can use, free weights and all of that kind of stuff. So I wanted somebody who could guide me with what I had. And I kind of live in the middle of nowhere, so I needed somebody remote. And I kind of Forge came up and I started doing a little bit of research on Sammy specifically. And I just liked who she was. I liked that she was an athlete, still is an athlete. Don't tell her I said she was.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Oh, she is wonderful, wonderful. And I think when I just did kind of like an interview trial thing with Sammy, one day out of the blue, and she was in Italy whenever we had chatted. And I loved who she was as a coach. And I was like, this is the chick that I want to help support me. Like she was knowledgeable. She was, great, easy to talk to, easy to get along with. I was like, all right, well, let's do it.
And you did. Now, well, the thing that I'm always curious about when
Hmm.
somebody, before they get started with an actual professional,
Sure.
you're dabbling almost, right? Unless,
Hmm.
unless you're taking the time and the energy to really structure it out, right? Like when it comes to fitness, are you
Hmm.
periodizing your programming? Are you doing progressive overload? All of the technical things in order to elicit
Sure.
the results that you're looking for, they do have to be strategic. If you want to be a
Hmm.
marathon runner, you most certainly don't train like a sprinter. And I think a lot of people get
Right.
very frustrated because, they get templates online or they look up a
Hmm.
workout or they're on Instagram. They see this influencer doing something and they do it, but they don't see the same return. So I think people get really frustrated with fitness. Then in nutrition,
Right.
well, how about that? Nutrition it's so contentious. It's incredible. In fact,
Hmm.
one of the problems that I personally have with nutrition is there's a dogma now associated. So
Right.
if you put a vegan in a room and somebody who does like the carnivore diet, now you're having
Hmm.
moral conversations about food.
Right.
Frankly, I just don't have time for that shit. So first world problems, people, first world problems. And then the third is, how do you create sustainable habits? Like, how do you create
Hmm.
foundational behaviors that allow you to sustain this? It has to be in perpetuity. There really is no end. Not
Yeah.
really. Not really. And I say this all the time as a quick caveat. We have property and we're in the middle of nowhere too, but we're pretty rural. And
Mhm.
Heather and I futz around the property. We always have something going on. When you got acres,
Yep.
something's broken. Some water main busted, or like there's something that has to be
Absolutely.
fixed. There's always something that's going on. Maybe you find a nest of copperheads and you have to deal with that. And then, you
Yeah.
know, there's always something going on here. But we love it. We love it. I think that we love it because it creates it takes you away from your phone and you have to look up and you have to engage in the world, the natural world.
Yes.
And I think that
Yes.
for us, that's very cleansing. As you already know, my social media skills are very, very poor. And that's because I don't enjoy it, but I do enjoy putting on my boots and heading out and,
Yep.
and getting on the tractor and doing stuff. I like
There
that.
you go.
But, and really what it comes down to though, is that, we all have a place where we're trying to find homeostasis. We're trying to find
Mhm.
a balance between fitness, nutrition, and the behaviors that will help us live for as best we can for as long as we can. And Heather and I don't have children. And we're just thinking about, like, just the other day, one of our neighbors who's an older gentleman, he's 80 and he's not faring well at all. His
Oh.
We used to co-parent his dog, Snickers. Snickers was born in 2004. He died last Christmas, 2024.
Oh my goodness.
20 years old. Yeah, he's our little boy.
Wow.
Yeah, he's really cool. And so we became really close to Tommy. And Snicks, he would just to give you some context, he was a tiny little Maltese poodle mix, little white guy. He was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 pounds wet.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
dude, 20 years old, cataracts. He's missing almost
Oh
all of
my
his teeth.
gosh.
And he
My
would walk.
goodness.
Every single morning he came over here, he'd be here for hours. But anyway, the point that I was going to make is that, good old Tommy over there is getting really ill. He's been in the hospital the last 3 weeks. He's got all kinds of problems, and we don't know how long he's going to be here. And
Sure.
he's fortunate. He's got a daughter who lives, I don't know, 30 minutes away from here. And she comes
Okay.
by, and Heather and I help him. Like, we go over there and we make him dinner and we bring him food, like, whenever we can, probably 3-4 times a week at least. And sometimes we'll actually have him come over here, and it's great. But the point that I'm making is that Heather and I were considering, we don't have children and we need to be as fit as we possibly can, because who's going to take care of us when we're in our 80s? We have
Yeah.
to. And so everything that we're
Right.
doing now is for the future. It's kind of like the paying it forward idea. But I wanted to come back to the whole, getting started and the challenges, because it is difficult to sort through, as you were pointing out, about fitness and nutrition and well, for you, it was more particularly safety and fitness. Once you got started with Sammy, what was the hardest thing for you that you just really struggled to get under control?
The most difficult thing was understanding that I was not as strong as I thought I was. So she would give me workouts and she would, start light. I'm like, start light. Okay, cool, whatever. I used to do this all the time. And I would pick up the weight and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's right. I lost a lot of muscle mass, which obviously I grew 2 children, so that was apparent, but it was a mental struggle to realize that I actually needed to put in a lot of work to get back to where I was. And I was starting from basically a negative zero, a negative point rather than ground zero.
Did you find it, I don't like using this word because it's kind of grammatically incorrect, but people always say, I'm demotivated. Was that a thought that was going through you, or was it more that, I don't want to give you the answer here, but I'm just kind of curious.
No.
I'll give you just to prompt the question. Some people they're like, I'm demotivated. I feel like I can't do this. This isn't going to work, and it's just too hard. And I thought I was further along than I was, and I'm disappointed in myself. Or were you like, okay, this is not going to be working for me to be weak. I'm going to double down, and now I'm really going to focus on this. And then there's something in between. But what did you think?
Yeah. So it was kind of a place in between, still being like a year, 13 months postpartum. I still kind of had that emotional aspect of, oh my gosh, I wish I was, better at this. I do remember coming inside from workout some days and just crying to my husband and saying this is not who I am. Why am I so weak? Why can I not do this? And he would have to kind of remind me hey, you just did a thing that kind of messed y'all up. So let's kind of take a breath. And then kind of as we progressed with Sammy and as I progressed with Sammy, I was like, okay, all right, I got through the boohoos. Let's just hunker down and let's get it done.
That right there, that mental fortitude is the difference between success and failure.
Yep.
Congratulations. It's very difficult to do, because think about it this way. If you just look at the statistics, if you think about it from an overfat perspective, 8 out of 10 people standing in a room are overfat, and 5 to 6 people out of 10 standing in a room are clinically obese, and they're not willing to do it. That's what it is. It's not a very popular thing to say, I don't care. That's what it is. It's
I know.
you just
Yeah.
it is a character breach. It's what it is. And
Uh-huh.
you overcame that, and you've been doing it so consistently and progressing. And we'll get there because I want to hear about what you're doing now and compared to what you're doing then. But before I do, I want to capstone this one question, which is, how did you get past it? Because when you're going in and you're in an emotional state where you're actually in tears and you're venting to your husband. I mean, obviously he was being very supportive, but how did you get past it? What did you do to make it so that you've been sticking with this for over 3 years?
Yes. I remember a moment when one of my children wanted me to pick him up, and I bent down and I was able to squat down, no problem. They jumped on my back and I stood right back up. I was like, whoa, wait, that used to not be that easy. So now my children are much bigger. I have a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I can still do that easily. My daughter will be like, hey, mom, I want a piggy. And she is close to 40 pounds now. So I'm like, all right. So I'll just squat down. She'll jump up and we'll stand up. No problem. And knowing that as I continue to work with Sammy and continue to get stronger and stay, on top of my workouts and everything, I'll still be able to pick them up. I'll still be able to run around with them. And that kind of shift in mentality, like, this isn't just for me. This is for my kids. This is to make, my life and my husband's life easier because we can just throw them over a shoulder and keep going with life. So I think that was the mental shift of, this isn't just a me thing. This is an us thing.
That is what we call a breakthrough moment. A significant one as well, because it's not internalized.
Right.
I do believe that internal motivations that we have, just the things that are important to us, whether they be an extrinsic outcome or an intrinsic value towards outcome, are fine. Those are all very good things. But there's something interesting about a second party that fosters a discipline for change. And it's almost inevitably always children. I believe
it makes sense. Makes sense.
It makes sense to me. I think weirdly, like, society has kind of gotten all, oh, don't have children, have a career. I everybody do your own thing. I understand. It's land of the free, home of the brave. But I think that there's a significant amount of value in children, despite the fact that I don't have any. There's reasons for that. I won't get into that today, but
okay.
Just because nobody really cares about, and this is your story, not mine. But really what it comes down to is you had this breakthrough moment. And I think if I could be so bold to predict that almost made you feel like a super mom at that point.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I felt it was a very, I guess, self-reflective moment of like, okay, all right, I got this.
Do you feel like that breakthrough led to more breakthroughs? Like, are there some other things, like, well, then they can be related to your children, they can be related to your relationships, your career, but what other mindset or even habits did you analyze and then maybe make improvements on?
Yeah. So I'm in sales. So I'm in engineering sales. So I do travel a lot. I'm on the road quite often. And that was a topic that Sammy and I had kind of covered a good bit of nutrition while on the road. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, if I am going to be on the road during lunch or during like a time where I need to eat, where can I eat cleaner? And just trying to think of that small, like, little change of, I'm going to get grilled chicken instead of the fried chicken and things like that. That was kind of another shift that I was able to make. Kind of once I hunkered down and was like, all right, well, we're doing this.
Do you find when you're traveling that nutrition or fitness are the hardest thing?
I would say nutrition. I can always find a trail to run or walk, or there's always like a gym in a hotel that you can get, a little bit of a workout in, but it's always the nutrition for me that I struggle with.
Just for those who are listening, I'll immediately give some tips. I'm sure Sammy's given you some of these too. But before I do that, the one thing cool about working with Sammy is I'm sure that she is very adaptive. So when you're like, hey, I'm going to be in XYZ hotel, because I do my clients all the time. In fact, the amount of hotel gyms that I have to Google is pretty remarkable. And I have a lot of traveling because I have to make adaptations in the programming so that so not only is it for the sake of the consistency and the habit of the check-in and the execution of the workout for the client, it's also about making sure that it's scientifically rationalized based on what their objectives are. Now, sometimes there's nothing you do. I have a client right now. There's no way. I mean, his home gym, he's have a beautiful home gym. In fact, he has almost all the same stuff that I have because he's like, what is this? Like, where'd you get that? And then I send him the link. And, so, and I'm not affiliated with this brand at all or anything like that. I don't do that. But he has a very similar gym to me. And
Mhm.
right now he's body weight only for the next 2 weeks. He's in a hypertrophy phase. He's trying to grow his lean muscle. He's still trying to lose his body fat.
Mhm.
I could say he's a young middle-aged guy. And
Sure.
so as I was looking at how I was going to make his program work, I figured out that I was going to use high intensity interval training, but I'm
Mhm.
going to utilize it in such a way that it would have a hypertrophic effect because it would require him to have volume instead of load. So he's still getting the excitation in the muscle structure
Mhm.
on the muscle groupings that we're working for, but without load. But the idea here is it's not about progressing while you're gone for 2 weeks. It's about maintaining the habit. It's just about
Right.
the momentum because I know this particular gentleman, and if he's listening, he's going to be like, I know you're talking about me. Is that if he loses his momentum, it's very difficult to get him to start again. Man, if he just misses like 3 or 4 workouts, like it's a good thing I see him every other week. But yeah, because I can catch him. And if I notice he's fallen off, I'll pop him a message. I'm like, man, come on. But in your case, nutrition was kind of the thing that you had to sort through. What were some of the tips?
Yeah.
What were some of the tricks that Sammy taught you?
So if I was kind of like driving while I was, during lunch or anything, she would say, like, try to pack some snacks. She would say, try to kind of lean towards less fried stuff and kind of more like grilled. Trying to think of what else she taught me. Those are the two main ones that stick out. I've
Those
been
are
doing
big.
it for so long, I can't remember like what she specifically geared me towards.
Well, pre-planning your snacks is good because the snacks are probably going to be orders of magnitude healthier than anything you're going to get at some wayside
Right.
gas station. Fried food, not only is it not necessarily ideal for a health perspective, but it also is calorically dense and is nutritiously poor. So just even balancing those two things out, even on a macro scale, even if it's only just, a couple of weeks, that actually pays forward, right? So because it's an accumulation of good decisions that lead to a positive result. Overseas is way harder than domestic. But
Interesting.
a couple of fun, because food source availability, especially if it's a foreign country where food quality becomes a problem. I won't name some of the countries, but I've had clients who've gone to certain places and they almost are hospitalized from the food. Like I've had this year alone, I've had 3 clients who've gotten ill overseas eating food. I'm going to give everybody a really interesting tip, and I don't know why people don't do this because it's exciting. When I'm going to go somewhere, I'll go onto Google Maps, for example, where your hotel is, or at least, and if you're driving and there's distance and you have stops along the way, I actually plan all that stuff out. I get excited about the prospect of trying new things. So let's just say that you're going to be at a destination because, you can plan, if you're driving, you can plan waypoints, but let me just kind of fast forward to this. I'll go to where the hotel is, and then I'll go to Google Maps and then I'll search restaurants in the immediate area. I will find the restaurant that is interesting to me. I'll go to the menu. I'll know what I'm going to be eating before I get there.
Oh, nice.
I already know. And I'm excited about it. I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to try this, whatever this food dish is at this particular restaurant. And I have found that has really been very helpful for me. Another thing that I do is when it comes to travel is that I pre-plan my snacks because snacks are, that really gets people. Because if you're trying to find healthy alternative snacks while in an airport or in now this an international travel can change this because they may not let certain things on the plane, right? I get that. But the preparation and the portioning of snacks makes a huge difference. For example, I'm going to round up, there's 10 calories in 1 almond. So I don't just have a big giant bag of nuts because boy, does that get out of control real fast. I portion it out to 100 to 150 calorie portions. I want to make sure that everybody understands. For me, I do not personally, at my stage in my development in fitness and nutrition, I do not need to count calories unless I'm doing something highly specific with a defined duration. Obsessive counting of calories and macros is an eating disorder. Intuitive eating is where we try to get all of our clients to an intuitive eating space. That's the end goal. Now, that doesn't mean that that's how it works or that's not necessarily always best for everybody. We have to be adaptive to that particular client. But when it comes to travel, I portion my snacks. I know exactly what they are. I am very, very picky about processed foods. They're not something that we consume in our house. The exception being Quest bars, if we're going to be traveling. And the only reason I like Quest bars is because they have at least 24 grams of protein, but it's the fiber. 13 grams in 1 Quest bar. And the average American barely gets 15 to 20 grams of fiber. The American Dietetic Association is recommending, and the USDA recommend that you get 30 to 40 grams of fiber. Most people don't even remotely close to that because now their sodium, they blow that out at breakfast, but their fiber, they get it, In fact, the daily upper recommended intake for sodium is about 2,500. Most Americans hit that at breakfast, especially if you just stop at a fast food joint and you just got a breakfast sandwich. You already hit your daily.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm also careful about meal timings when I'm traveling. So I'll consider things like if we're going to be leaving really early in the morning, like say 4 a.m., like going to Yosemite National Park when we used to live in Nevada, for example, I would know exactly where we're going to be going for breakfast if we didn't already pre-plan and bring breakfast. But I also gave grace for what the end activity is. If you're traveling for business, I'm strict on my normal nutritional protocol is pretty tight because it's not an event in which I should be indulging. It's business as usual.
Sure.
However, when I travel for pleasure, specifically if it's a physical event like hiking Half Dome, for example, I am very, very, very excited about the fact that I can have pizza at Curry Village. They tried to change it to Half Dome Village. Now it's back to Curry Village.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They have some of the best pizza you'll ever have. It's unbelievable right there in Curry Village. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because you've been hiking for 10, 14 hours that day.
That's probably part of it.
It's maybe why it's like the best pizza ever. Maybe it's like if you were excited, maybe you ate it and you'd be like, this is trash. But I don't think so. I think it's actually pretty good. And it's about planning. And here's the thing. I want to bring it back. So it's a conscientiousness. We can't just be sitting around and being a passenger on the ride. We have to be proactive. And it sounds like that's what you've been doing with your nutrition.
Yes.
What would you say in hydration? Everybody forgets about that. Yeah, I actually got to drink water. What would you say is currently your biggest nutrition hang up? The one thing that you're trying to you're just like, this is the one thing in nutrition that I'm going to fix.
Oh gosh. It would have to be protein intake.
Not enough?
That's just something I've always struggled with. You can ask Sammy. She's always hounded me on like, hey, actually two things, protein intake and hitting my calorie goal. I struggle to hit that calorie goal. I'm usually under.
Is it habitual, or why would you say that you're missing your nutrition intake?
Well, first off, I haven't tracked it in a hot minute. So that's probably part of it.
The last time you tracked it was it was on the 18th of November. It was the last time.
I finished that day. I only tracked one meal.
I see that.
Yeah.
But if I go back in your history, I can see. Yeah. If these are accurate numbers, you're eating sub-basal.
Yeah.
So she's getting after you.
Yes.
Yeah. Good for her.
Oh, she's definitely fussing me.
So what are you doing? Like, what are some of the strategies that you guys are working on to try and at least hit? Because if you hit your protein goal, there's a good chance that your total energy goal is going to follow it because the fat is going to associate.
Yes. Yeah. So I've done a lot of meal prepping. So breakfast was kind of like one of my kind of sticking points. I wouldn't get a very high calorie breakfast. So I've been doing a lot of meal prepping there. So I've done some like breakfast burritos with some potatoes in it to try and like bump up the calories. Yeah.
Throw some turkey sausage in there. Turkey sausage in there.
Yes. So I put eggs, sausage, turkey sausage. I'll do some bacon just to kind of try to bump up like basically a protein bomb in the morning.
Yep.
And then my husband's kind of gotten into these protein drinks. They're the Nuri protein drinks.
There's so many brands out there. It's hard for me to...
I know. But it's like 30 grams of protein in a drink. So I've been kind of drinking those too. They don't taste too bad.
Yeah,
so that's kind of the two things. Yeah. Those are the two kind of like, I guess, changes that I've tried to make.
Good. So your protein goal is your new nutrition focus. Making sure, and then of course, if you hit your protein goal, it's likely, especially if you're using whole food proteins. And by the way, supplementation to meet some nutritional requirements is fine. That's what supplements are supposed to be. It's supposed to. But if you were to hit your protein and doing it mostly through whole foods, the good news is that your calorie or your energy needs are likely going to be hit. Definitely don't want to eat sub-basal because as you know, you're going to go into retention. And that's frustrating when you're like, how am I not losing more fat? I'm trying as hard as I can. But there's that odd nutritional balance. And then if you're traveling a lot, then consistency becomes a problem. But how many days a month are you typically traveling?
So traveling to where I won't have my home gym, not very often, but traveling to where I'm like in the car for, 2, 3, 4 hours a day, fairly frequently.
Oh,
I know that would drive me crazy.
Unbelievably good job for you. I just, yeah. Good. Okay. So you have points of where you're sedentary, but you're aware of it and you're hitting your workout. Your exercise adherence looks good. In fact, I'm kind of curious. Hold on. I'm gonna see what Sammy's got you doing right
So I just started a new program.
now. Yeah, she's got you. Well, she's periodizing. I can tell just by looking at the muscle groupings from October into November that she actually has you on a periodization program, which you should. You like rowers, huh?
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at the little rower core workout. That's fun. Yeah, and then
You and I have a different definition of fun.
yeah. You know, it's interesting. Exercise preference can sometimes be really fascinating. For example, I don't like dead bugs, but I have clients who are like, "Oh, will you put dead bugs in my program?" Okay. Yeah, she's got you doing some good stuff. So you're doing a lot of high intensity interval training right now. She's got you mostly on intervals. Oh, I like that little kettlebell interval. Ooh, 60 seconds of work. She is going to. You're getting work done.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to do the kettlebell workout yet?
Not yet. I think that might be today.
It
or
looks
tomorrow.
good. I think it's Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it looks always. Or no, wait, hold on. What is she? You have that on Thursday, Thanksgiving. No,
she put that on Thanksgiving. Okay. Well,
well, you got to be ready for the evening. And holidays are weird for people too. But you know, this time of year can be really, really weird, really weird. But that was really helpful. I'm glad we're just having the discussion about what it's like to travel and these little ideas about how to keep your nutrition under control, because it's so easy. And then sometimes for some people, and you can tell me if you ever fall into this, that when you're on the road and you're at a gas station, it's easy to just say, you know what, I'm just going to grab a pack of, I don't know, whatever you're like, peanut M&Ms or whatever. I don't know. Do you ever struggle with those things? Are you pretty on point?
So I don't have that much of a sweet tooth. I'm pretty on point when it comes to like not getting like a candy bar or whatever from a gas station, but that's just, I've kind of always been that way. That's not my vice.
Yeah. So that begs the question. What do you struggle with?
Bread and pasta.
Okay. Do you home make bread and pasta, or you get it from stores?
A little bit of both. So as everybody did during COVID, I went on the whole sourdough starter thing. So I did bake bread for a while. I'll do homemade pasta every now and then, but I have kind of switched a little bit to where I try to add nutrition to the pasta that I make.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll add like, maybe I'll use like the water that I boiled some vegetables in as the binder instead of just regular water. So I've started to kind of try to add nutrition to breads and pastas and stuff instead of just making it, flour, sugar, oil, water.
Egg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those little tips and tricks are always great. As far as I don't expect everybody to follow my dietary lifestyle, but as I'd mentioned earlier, the elimination of processed foods was a breakthrough moment for me. Even as a wellness professional, I now struggle to enjoy restaurants because I can taste this.
Okay.
I can tell. And so I'm very fortunate though here, living in Dallas, Fort Worth. It's a food mecca. Like
it is
really competitive, and it's competitive for quality. I have a lovely acquaintance, Chef Graham Elliott. He owns a lot of restaurants here, and Heather and I frequent those restaurants. And we don't frequent them just because they're Graham Elliott restaurants. We frequent them because he really is careful about where he sources his food from, his ingredients.
That's awesome.
And I've complimented on this. This was not that long ago. It was like 3 or 4 months ago. I saw Maria's Mexican Kitchen in Fort Worth, one of the best Mexican restaurants in the area. Believe it or not, it's not Tex-Mex; it's Mexican. And he had just come in, and he's known Heather longer than he's known me. And so, but I went up to him and we're just talking, and I had mentioned that we really appreciated the quality, and we had gone to some of the dinners that he hosts. Like he'll host chef dinners, and it's small, like there's only like 10 people who go, and he talks about that kind of stuff. And then I'm looking at Heather, I'm like, see, this is so now we're really picky about the restaurants, but the reason being is not only for just the health. I can taste it. I know when it's trash. I know it. My body just doesn't respond well to it. And by the way, I don't eat added sugar. It's not in my diet. And that doesn't mean I don't eat fructose. I still eat fruit, but I don't eat copious amounts of fruit. And I also do something else. And this isn't anything that's crazy. This is reasonable, is that I try to eat fruit that is in season. It's a little bit more like of a prehistoric kind of like dietary intake. Strawberries actually don't exist year round. It's technology that allows them to. So I tend to eat kind of seasonally, and what that does is it balances my fructose intake. Anyway, I don't want to rabbit hole onto to like advanced dietetics or anything like that. But when it comes down to practical application of these things, that I find that the more I've reduced added sugars, the more that I reduce processed foods, but adding nutritional density like you're doing is really smart. It's a great way to make it interesting. It's a great way to get the nutrition. It feels better. Everything's better about that, right? And so if you can get your protein up, if you can hit your energy levels, and you can increase your cytonutrition intake in conjunction with those three things, you have your nutrition dialed, like dialed.
Trying.
So other than those kinds of things, so tell me, let's talk a little bit about fitness. And I have one more question related to habit. In fitness, what are you finding is the one thing that you're just really struggling with, that you're really working on improving?
My cardio. 100%. Yep. I could do strength training all day, but when Sammy puts a fartlek or whatever on my workouts, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to.
Like tempo training and intervals and stuff like that, they're tough for you?
Yes. Which is probably why she has it on this program.
I was going to say, it's probably why she's having you do it, if it's a weakness.
Yeah.
This is another thing for anybody who's listening or watching, is just remember this, that when you're working with a professional and they're requesting that you do something that you don't enjoy, it doesn't mean that they're ignoring you. There's a principle called FIT: frequency, intensity, type, time, and enjoyment. FITTE. Any really good fitness professional is going to look at their clients and they say, how can I improve all of those things? And enjoyment sometimes has to take a back seat to progress. And I do this with myself. There are certain movements that I don't particularly enjoy. I have lots of injuries and other things, but I'll still even apply this principle to myself. And I will do things that I don't like doing. For example, I don't like rolling my IT band because I find it to be extraordinarily painful, even though I stand a lot. It was worse when I sat all the time, right?
Okay.
So one of the things that's important to remember is that frequency, intensity, type, time, and enjoyment are the principles that allow you to create sustainability around your fitness. Now, if you are lacking in a certain protocol for fitness, then you should cycle it through and sacrifice the E for your well-being. And
absolutely.
And because what is it? This is the thing. People are so unwilling to be even momentarily inconvenienced or stressed. And I can't subscribe to that. If you don't feel like you have the level of endurance that you should, then fix it. Even if you don't like it. That's another thing I don't like doing. I have a percussion gun because I'm a mess.
Sure.
And I have to really work on making sure that I don't get a protraction. I have a torn labrum, and then my acromioclavicular joint right here underneath it, something called a bursa. Mine is basically compressed and split. And then, and I start to get a humoral internal rotation, which causes a little bit of a cervical lordosis. And I find myself, like, I'll lean sometimes when I'm doing programs, because I do my programs over here on this monitor. And I'll lean, I'll be like, and I catch myself. So when it comes to this kind of thing where, like, you don't necessarily enjoy it, that's expected. Not everything is perfect. For example, I don't love Brussels sprouts, but I eat them because I think that they're very nutritiously dense.
They are.
But it doesn't mean that I eat them every day. Now, what I was going to ask you though is, do you prefer steady state or do you like intervals? What do you prefer to do?
I prefer intervals.
I like interval inclines. That's what I like to do.
Okay.
That works really well for me. And then before it became popular, before it became this new social media thing, Heather and I both like weighted vests. We do rucking.
Okay.
And now it's all popular in the rage. But I have a beautiful treadmill right there. And it has a 15% incline, or 15 degree. And I'll just throw on my 35-pound vest and I will do incline intervals. And I actually enjoy that. I also like really long walks in the right temperature. And I also despise running.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting.
Which is ironic, because I used to run all the time. And that was what I did as kind of like a stress relief. Now I hate it. I'm
not a figure competitor. And I get hyper criticized on social media because I'm not one. I'm like, listen, I'm a 46-year-old man on zero medication. Like, I'm doing just fine. I don't need your false affirmation. I'm not looking to be a figure competitor. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not in the military. I'm going to tell you my philosophy right now. I have something that's called the yes philosophy.
Okay.
What that means is that if somebody says, hey, Michael, do you want to go do this physical activity? Do you want to go hike a mountain? Yes, I can do it. Hey, Michael, do you want to go and do the Tough Mudder or the Spartan race in 3 weeks? Yes. The answer is yes, because I can. To me, that's way more valuable than an aesthetic outcome. The aesthetics are the byproduct. I look
Right.
really good for 46. I'm not saying that with arrogance. I'm saying that objectively because I see a lot of shirtless 40 to 50-year-old men because that's a lot of my clients.
Right.
And,
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
and it seems to me that we've completely perverted what wellness should be. And one of the things I wanted to compliment you about is that you just got a really level head about this. You're like, okay, I was an athlete in high school and in college, and then I had kids, and I'm like, well, now I need to lift. But I'm not hearing like stories of massive eating disorders and like dysmorphia of the body, and I'm not hearing the things that, like, frankly, I spend most of my day dealing with. And it's almost a
Sure.
relief to
Yeah.
hear somebody who's just as practical. Hey, I travel. I need to figure out my snacks. I got to eat more protein. And,
Mhm.
I need to get better at my cardio. It's a relief. And I think that anybody watching or
Yeah.
listening should remember that your fitness goals are yours. And there's no one who can tell you what you need to look like. You just need to be the best
Mhm.
version of yourself. And so I always say that if you can look in the mirror and you can smile and say, I may not be exactly where I want to be, and there are conditions. I've had children, I was injured, whatever. All those things, you can pack them, you can put them to the side. But look at yourself objectively. If we're talking solely aesthetics, as I'm talking about performance in a second, aesthetically, you should be able to look at yourself and only find things you like. Stop looking for the things you don't.
Right. Right.
And then when it comes to performance, it's the same thing. Do the things you like, of course, but sometimes you're going to have to do a little bit of cardio, girl. Yeah, you have to get your cardiovascular health there. But I want to make one more comment on this finding problems. You've probably heard of the technique where direct observation and recall, you find what you're looking for. So if I told you to look around your room right now and find objects of a certain color, you would look around, you'd find those objects of that color,
Right.
and then you would have ignored all the other colors. And so if I were to ask you, well, how many objects of X color did you see? You'd be able to tell me. And then if I said, well, how many objects of Y color did you see? You'd be like, oh gosh, I don't know. Because you're only finding what you're looking for. And what's also interesting about that experiment when you do it with people is the amount of times that they will find things that aren't even really the color exactly that they're supposed to be looking for, but it's good enough so they get a success out of it. It's a really fascinating phenomenon in humans. I try to be conscientious about this phenomenon so that I don't do it. I want to be more observant. Like I said earlier, I try to keep this out of my face so that I'm looking up. That's why I like to futz around the property. And so I'm living for my future. And I just really wanted to encourage you to keep that good mental state that you've got where you're like, this is what I need to do. And while I don't enjoy doing this, I'm going to do it. And that's probably why Sammy's programmed it. That is the right attitude. And I just wanted to make sure that I reinforce that with you. So
you got it.
I'll just ask you a couple other questions. And I just want to be respectful of your time because it's been a lot of fun to talk to you about this stuff. And I'm sure that we all have those things, right? There is pain. And we do have to contend with those. So I'll push you a little bit on that. But let's talk about the past. What was one thing in the past that was really getting into you emotionally that was just a serious issue? But only tell me the thing that you've overcome.
Sure. Yep. So on that year that I took off between, I don't want to say took off, but that grace year that I kind of gave myself between my last child and when I actually, hunkered down and started with Sammy, I wasn't exactly proud of what I was seeing in the mirror. And logically, I knew this was a product of creating life, like creating my children. I knew that, the extra weight around my hips wasn't the end of the world, but I still wasn't excited about it. It was kind of like aside from pregnancy, I've never been this big or weighed this much in my life. So that was kind of something that was in my head, but I would try to logic myself out of it. And I've overcame that kind of mindset as I kind of worked with Sammy, and she was like, look at what you've accomplished, what you've done, not only like physically, like you've obviously we're not going to show pictures, but have been significant changes between October 2022 and now, to where I've gone down 2-3 pant sizes.
Congratulations.
So thanks. Yeah, it was something.
Yeah.
But that was kind of something that I did overcome. Yes, there was times where I wasn't happy with the way that I looked, but it wasn't like I hate myself because of it. It was all right, well, I don't like this, so let's figure it out.
You're objective. You looked at yourself and you said, this isn't what I want. and I know that there are means in which I can fix it. And then you took action and you have been consistent.
Pretty much.
I think that's wonderful. Obviously, there's been a lot of impact. The biggest one that I thought was amazing was the fact that you had gotten down, you picked up your child, and you're just like, that was easy.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
easier. Yes. Yes.
and then knowing, of course, reinforcing that if you continue to do that,
Mhm.
as the child grows, your strength grows. You realize that, right?
Right.
So when they
Right.
become teenagers, you know, mom can still kick their butt. You know, that was my mom. That's how she was. She was always, my mom was a spanker. So I was 14 years old, and you know, I've got a mouth on me. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm better at it now in my late 40s than I was in my. I don't know what it is. I unfortunately have never really been able to successfully install a filter, and it's not that I'm adversarial or anything like that, but just I don't know. Sometimes I just say things. So I was popping off to my mom one day at 14 years of age.
Dear.
I don't even remember what it was over, something dumb. And so she grabbed, I don't know what she grabbed. She grabbed something to hit me with. I think it was a belt. and of course, I mean, for those of you who are listening who, you know, no, you don't spank your children, blah, blah, blah. No, it's nothing like that. You have to understand that my relationship with my mom it is titanium clad. She never abused me. None of that nonsense. It was discipline. And I'm telling you right now, I deserved it. Okay. So it's not my mom's fault. It's my fault. I take responsibility. And I'm surprised she didn't kill me. All of us boys, we were crazy. Could you imagine having like two boys who are only 13 months apart and then another one who's 4 years later? I don't even know how she survived this. Anyway, so she comes up to me and she goes to smack my butt with his belt. And I just remember catching her hand and she pulled her away. And then she came at me again. And I just sideswiped it. Like just dodged. And I just looked at her, and this is true story, 100% true story. I'm going to have her on the podcast because she'll tell the story better. We look at each other and we just start laughing. We started laughing. And then she drops the belt and she gives me this hug and she's like, you're all grown up. She's like, I have to find new ways of disciplining you.
Oh, no.
But it's cute. But you want to keep up with your kids as they age. You want to still be able to be protective, even in their teen years. I think it's really important. And that's, my mom was like that. My mom was, she was very protective, but also my mom was willing to let us get hurt to prove a point.
Absolutely. We call those self-learning lessons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, I see that you got a ramp up and you guys are going to be jumping off it with your bike. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Do it. And of course, one of us got hurt. Well, are you going to do that again? No. So it's important as a parent to be strong for your children. For you, that was a really big breakthrough moment. I think another big couple breakthroughs for you were learning how to manage your nutrition better within your profession.
Yes.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that can be hard. And the good news is that you still have some things that are low hanging fruit that you can fix pretty quick. Like you can get to your protein intake. And it sounds to me like you've been working on strategies. Your husband's got this new protein shake that he's been drinking that he likes. Sammy will have more insight for you. And I'm sure she's probably watching that. And one of the things I encourage people to do is if like you said, I haven't tracked calories for a hot minute, is that maybe take a 14-day snapshot, and you can do it in 7 if you're so inclined. I'll do this on occasion. I'll take a 7-day snapshot if I made a significant change to my food types, just for variety's sake. I'll track it for 7 days, and then I'll be like, okay, cool, I got it. And then I don't track again because I know exactly what I need to do and I don't have to worry about it. But it sounds like that has been transformative in some ways for you. So it's not only improved your health, your fitness, your nutrition, and your mindset, but it's also, it sounds like it's improved your productivity in some ways.
Right. No, absolutely. Just being able to kind of be like, okay, I know what I'm doing for breakfast. I got these little egg bites. I got these little wraps. Let me just grab it and walk out the door and I'm good.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Now, so here's the other thing. I just only have 2 more questions for you. The whole point of these conversations is to inspire people and to show them that you can do it. It just requires a little bit of effort. You have to manage your fitness, nutrition, your behavior. You have to get that stuff under control. And the best part about it is, and again, unpopular, but it's all on you. It's 100% on you. There's nobody else. If you live in the United States of America, nobody is holding you back unless it's just you. If you're overweight, if you're ill from being overweight, it's your fault. The good news is you can fix it. So it's not gloom and doom. There's always hope. That's the whole point of why we're having these discussions. I want people to have hope. And so coming from a mom who had back-to-back cesareans, a former athlete, working so hard to keep all of this stuff going, if someone listening or watching is feeling stuck or they're unsure of just what to do, what advice would you share with them? What are some things that they can do to just stop the cycle of failure?
Yeah. So for me, it was scheduling my workout time. So I would get into a routine of I am going to work out between 7:30 and 8:30. That is my window of when I am working out. And I would hold myself to it. It did help a good bit that my husband is fantastic and was like, all right, 7:30, get out, go do your thing. Structuring the time frame of when I would work out was a big help. And then just having my person kind of hold me accountable. My husband, he also is one of Sammy's people. So he also works out with Sammy. Yeah. So just having the support system, and then seriously, the Forge community is fantastic. Like there were times where I would run through the rain to get to my workout, since it's like, 50 yards in my backyard. And I'd take a quick picture of me in my boots. I'm like, hey, going to do my workout today. And everybody would put hearts on it and, say, great job, good job, keep going. So just having a community that kind of supports you is just fantastic.
Pride is something that we should have when we've done something that's difficult. If you could go back and talk to that version of yourself from before you started,
Oof.
What advice would you give yourself?
Be patient, because this is not an overnight thing. Be patient with the workouts, take the time to listen to Sammy because she knows what she's talking about. And then be kind to yourself, because again, this is not an overnight thing. It took my body a long time to get to where it was. So expecting it to bounce back as quickly as I hoped and as quickly as I wanted it to was not fair.
It was an unrealistic expectation that you put on yourself.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it interesting? We can be our biggest detractors. I'm really happy about your husband being so supportive of you. That's a big deal. I was just talking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was just talking to we'd just done an episode with another client, and they do not enjoy that benefit.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to put my head around.
That's crazy.
I know. And he's like, I work so hard and she doesn't care. And she actually gets mad at me when I'm working out or,
No.
Yeah. And I keep telling him, I'm like, you will stay the course. Do not cave. But it's unfortunate. Honestly, I don't even know if she knows who I am. She's been working with me for 4 years. So.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But I will say it's very common. And in fact, if you listen to I just published a podcast today. It just came out with Christine Van Patten. It's really, really good. You should listen to it because she talks about the support structure, and her husband is very supportive of her. I mean, incredibly, to the point where he gets on the coaching calls sometimes. So I would say I see her every single week. Yeah, I see her weekly. And I would say that 2 out of 4 calls per month,
sure,
he gets involved. And it doesn't bother me because he's helping her, he's supporting her. And it's nice too, because he's listening to what I'm saying and then he reinforces it on the back end. She even talks about it on the podcast. So it's a really good episode. And the title of the episode is Overcoming Addiction, Eating Disorders, and the Fear of Failure is the name of the episode. And
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a good hard hitting one.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it came out really well. But I'm self-critical too, because when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, Michael, shut up. Just let her talk. It's like, there's always some self-deprecation, I think, but I know her so well. And, but I was just going to mention that, it's so amazing that you have a supportive partner. That's awesome. You have Coach Sammy all the time. You have the Forge community. You have me, you have access to me anytime you need me. And I know there have been times like even Sammy will tell me, this is very rare, but sometimes she'll be like, hey, I got this client and will you take a look at their program? Things aren't working right. Or, I'm having this issue. And I love coaching my coaches through. I got 25 years of experience, and she's got a lot of experience too. And Purdue University isn't a joke. I mean, getting a kinesiology degree from there it's difficult. And I was a college instructor for a decade. So I taught advanced fitness and nutrition sciences for Brown University. I love education or educating as well. And sometimes when partners get together and there's that mutual education about their nutrition, lifestyle, and that cross-pollination is really, really great. And so hearing how you've been able to overcome some of those challenges that aren't small, like they're big to you, they're still big to you. No, you're not overcoming like alcohol and methamphetamine and not like all this crazy stuff. But what you are is you're overcoming your negative internal self-dialogue. You're overcoming the feeling like that your body's never going to be the way it was when you're 18. And Kathy, you're actually right. It's not going to ever be the way that it was when it was 18, but it's a different body and it can still be just as good. It's just going to be different.
Yep.
And that's what's important. But I'm really proud of you. You've done a really good job. This has been a lovely conversation. I'll give you the last word. Is there any other thing that you think that somebody needs to know?
Oh my goodness. I guess you don't have to do it alone. You have to make a decision to do it, but you don't have to do it by yourself.
There you go.
That's pretty much it.
All right, my dear. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed getting a chance to get to know you. Thank you for spending your afternoon with me. It means a lot to me.
Sure.
I'm sure Sammy can't wait to hear the
Oh
episode.
gosh.
Yeah, I've recorded several with clients from other coaches, and all the coaches are like, "Have you finished editing yet? When's that published?" Calm down. I'll get there. It's coming. It's like I work 16 hours a day, guys. Give me a minute. But I'm really excited, and I'm excited for folks to be able to hear just such a, from what I can see.
Yeah,
I hope I'm right. You've got you're level-headed, you're objective.
Thank you.
And you, what do you say? You just hunker down and do it. I think you said that a couple of times, and I like that. It's authentic, and it's just, folks, that's all you got to do is just hunker down and do it, just like she said. So, all right, my dear. Thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and keep it up. Doing great.
You got it.
All right, my dear. Chat soon.